Welcome back to the vlog. We're going to be at Capital Casino here in Sacramento, California, playing in the 1-3 game, buying for $500. Pretty slow for the first 15 minutes. Finally pick up a pair of kings. There are 3 limpers in front of me. Going to be putting in a race to $20 here. Try to limit the field a little bit. The blinds fold out. First limper folds out, and then we get 2 callers. So we're going to end up going 3 ways to this flop with $67 in the pot. Nobody really has too deep of a stack, so not too much to worry about. But when the flop comes king 7-5, all spades, well, it's good news and bad news. I got top set, but there's a flush possibility out there. I'm going to continue for $25. See if they want to stick around. They both end up leaving, and we win a small pot. But, you know, starting off the day with a plus is always a good thing. There's a limp from the low jack. I look down at king queen in the big blind. Probably way ahead of his limping range, so I'm going to go ahead and put in a raise to $20. He has a fairly short stack, maybe $110, $120 left in his stack. King Queen's good enough for me. He starts talking about the hand a little bit, and it sounds like he has a medium-sized pair, and he's trying to decide whether he wants to go with it or not. And he just decides to go ahead and shove. I'm flipping with a medium-sized pair, so let's do a little coin flip, see a run out. He's a person I like to give action to because he's a good guy, and he watches the vlog. Flop comes out, jack high. We have a backdoor flush draw. Turn a open-ender, and river, absolutely nothing. He shows pocket eights, and we double him up. So I've been folding a lot over the next hour or so, and finally I pick up what I considered a playable hand after not seeing one for an hour. Is queen 9 suited from middle position, open for a raise to 15. I get 1 caller from the player in the low jack. Well, we see a flop that comes 9 high with 2 hearts. Well, if you're going to raise with queen 9 and flop top pair, you're going to have to bet it. So I bet $20. Player in the low jack thinks for only a brief minute, then sticks in the call. Most likely he has a 9 or some sort of flush draw, maybe some sort of straight draw. Turn card's really bad. It's the king of hearts. All the flush draws get there. I'm not happy with my 9. I check it over, see what sizing he would use if he bets, and he goes for $30. Now this player is very active and gives a lot of action, so I don't mind giving him some action back. Against most players, I would just give this thing up here, but against him, he deserves a call. I might still be ahead, and we'll find out when we see a river card. The river card is another horrible card. It is a jack of hearts. Definitely giving up on this hand now. I check it over. He checks it back. I tell him I have a 9, and he shows me queen 8 of hearts. So, yeah, boredom kills. It's a money waster. Well, after this hand, I drop down to just above $300 in my stack. And normally if I drop below 300, I add. There's only like 2 stacks that are somewhat deep, so I decided, screw it. Let's just go ahead and play with the 300 we have. The player in the cutoff opens for $15. Now he could have a very wide range here. It's folded to him. He's going to open a lot of hands. And having an ace in my hand, like ace 4 suited, ace 5 suited, or any ace basically, is definitely worth occasionally putting in a 3-bet and put some pressure on his opening range. So that's what I do. I make it 45. The player in the small blind tanks for a while now, looking like he wants to play. So he probably had a playable hand, but decided to let it go for 45, and so did the opener. So it's really small, but these are the type of pots that keep you afloat when you're not running well. Oh, about 2.5 hours in our session, we pick up 5, 6 suited in the small blind. There's an open for 15, a call from the player in the high jack. We call, and so does the blind. We go 4 ways to a flop of ace 4 7 with 1 spade, 2 diamonds out there. I check it, of course. The initial raiser checks, and it's now on to the player in the high jack. I imagine that he is going to do a lot of stabbing, especially for the small sizing that he used when he bets $15. I thought about just check raising here and taking the pot down as is, but I was a little bit concerned about the big blind. He could have an ace that he wanted to call with. 2 of us see a turn card, which is a 4 of clubs. Shouldn't really change anything. I imagine he was stabbing with a hand like a 7, and he goes ahead and makes a small stab again for $25. This is a clear sign of weakness. I don't need to make my hand. I just have to make him lay down his. So I put in a small raise to $80, make it look a little bit like value. He doesn't think too long before he wises up and realizes that the gig is up, and we win this one with 6 high. All right, we've been slowly chipping up. This time we have a premium hand, and there's an open for 17 and a raise to 45. And it comes back to me on the button, and here I'm just going to put in a call. I know it's a little dangerous, but I know the blinds are folding out, and I want action from the player who opened for 17 as well as the player who made it 45. The player who made it 45 is going to be c-betting just about every board, and I think I can get a little extra value out of him. Anyway, we see a flop that comes 8-6-3, as dry as you can get unless someone has some sort of 7-9, maybe 9-10. He fires out for $100, and now it's to me. If I call the 100, I'll make it 340-ish in the pot, and I only have like 250 behind. So I'm debating whether just to shove or to just try to bait him by just flatting. And the problem is, if he has a hand like pocket jacks or 10s, and I just flat, a scare card might come up on the turn, and that would kill all the action, where I think he would pay off if he had an overpair at this time. And let's face it, that's his most likely hand. Either that or a hand like ace-king, which I have 2 kings, so maybe ace-queen. I jam. I go all in. I got 300 and something dollars, so it's like 230 more for him to call. He tanks for a very long time, and he does watch my vlog a lot, so maybe he knows more about me than I do. But he does find a good fold, and so I'm thinking that maybe I should have just flatted and rolled the dice one more street. All right, we're back in the green. We got $80 profit and a premium hand. There are 2 players that limp in. We have ace, king, offsuit. Going to be putting in a raise here. We make it $25. Only get 1 call from a player who is a pretty decent player, very tricky. So I'm just going to try to see if I can extract some value from him. Flop comes out as dry as you can imagine with top pair, top kicker. King 8-3 rainbow. He checks it over to me. I am not concerned with anything at this point, so I'm going to be checking this back, hoping and praying he catches up a little bit. Turn card comes is a 5 of hearts. It puts some straight draws out there, and of course a flush draw. He checks it over again. I start to reach for my chips, and before I can even do anything, he mucks his hand. I guess he didn't hit anything. Well, the game is picking up a little bit. The player who just played that last hand against opens for a raise to 15. I make it 50 with ace-queen suited from the cutoff. And now the small blind cold calls the 50. Okay, now he is a very active action player, but when you cold call 50 from the small blind, you got something good. I imagine that he probably has a hand that he could probably 3 or 4 bet with, and I'm going to be a little bit careful on this one. Flop comes out jack high with 1 diamond and 2 spades out there. We do have a backdoor flush draw, some backdoor straight draws. It gets checked around to me, and most of the time I like to c-bet flops when I'm the pre-flop raiser, but against this particular player in the small blind, I'm going to be careful and check it back. Turn card comes now as a 6 of diamonds. It puts a lot of possible straights up there, but it also introduces a diamond draw, and I just happen to have the nut diamond draw, so that's good. It's all going to depend on the sizing of his bet. He goes with $65, and that's a fair price to draw to the nut flush. I think maybe my queen might be good, my ace might be good. He might have a hand like king jack suited, maybe something a little bit better. If he has ace jack and I catch an ace, that would be not very good for me. But if I catch a diamond, I don't think he'll see it coming. I put in the call after the other player folds, and we see a river card of a king of diamonds. I was watching him. He actually looked disgusted when that card came off. From his reaction, I think that he's probably pretty scared of the king or pretty scared of the diamonds. Don't think I'm going to be making too much money, so I decided I was just going to do a small bet of $100. So I started to reach for my chips and to put out the bet. And he does something the other player did. He just mucks his hand face up. He shows 2 queens and wow. Nice laydown, sir. I didn't even get a chance to bet. Here's a couple of bonus hands. There's a multi-way limped pot and I am in the cutoff with ace-5 suited. I put in a raise to 25, just trying to take down all the dead money. The player in the small blind puts in the call, but it looked like he was considering putting in a raise. Everybody else folds out. Don't know too much about this player other than they bought in for $1,000, so they probably know what they're doing. And we head off to a flop that comes out Jack 4-3 rainbow. He checks it over to me, and here with ace high, I'm going to go ahead and bet. He might fold a stronger ace like ace 10 suited, even ace queen perhaps. Ace king, I think he's going to come along and take a peek, but it'll put pressure on also his middling pocket pairs in case I have something like a jack or better. But he does put in the call, so I'm going to be cautious here. Turn card comes as a 5 of diamonds. It's a pretty good card for me. Of course, the deuce would have been great. And here I'm beating all those ace highs. I just have to worry about his pocket pairs, so I decided to check it back and get to showdown as cheaply as possible. River card comes as a 6. Once again, he checks it. I think I'm just going to win with ace, with a pair of 5s with an ace kicker. He says he has ace king, and I take it down with the 5s. This next hand, a player opens, raises to $6. Last time I saw him do this, he had a really strong hand. He gets called from the player on my right. Normally I would 3-bet this, but because of his tendency to raise small and re-raise big, I decided just to see a flop. Flop comes out Queen 10-10, and we're 4 ways. First person checks. The initial raiser now leads really small, $11. This doesn't really scare me too much at all. It looks like a feeler bet. The player to my right now re-raises to 27. He has the shortest stack. He has about 150 left in his stack. Obviously, he's saying that he has a 10, and basically I beat all 10s except for Queen 10 and Ace 10. So I'm just going to call, let the guy behind overcall. I'm not concerned with him at all. So the 3 of us are off to a turn, which comes the 3 of spades. 3 of spades is not the greatest card in the world, but it shouldn't really hit my opponent who has a 10. I doubt he's playing 10-3. He probably has something like Jack 10 or 9-10 in his hand. First player checks. Player to my right now jams all in. He has about 150 in his stack. I asked the dealer for a count. Basically, I'm going to be calling no matter what he shoved in here, but I was trying to get a reaction from the player behind us, whether he was interested in the pot or not. And as you can barely make out from the video, he's texting away on his phone, so I don't think he has any interest. So I go ahead and verbally say I call. The other player folds out quickly, and we're going to see a river card, which comes a 5 of hearts. He shows me he did have a 10, 10-6. I have him out kicked, and we win this pot. So that was the week that was. Not too much action this week. I did a lot of traveling over the weekend, and I was pretty worn out, so I didn't want to put in a long session. We did end up booking a win, $460. That's better than nothing. For the week, we're up about 600 and change. Not too bad. And for the month, well, as you can see, we added just a little bit. We're up to about 1,800 for the month and a little bit higher for the year total. So thanks for watching. I really do appreciate all your support. And next week, we're going to have a good video for you. I'm going to put some long hours in and see if we can get you some really fun hands. So until next time, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.